Hi, everybody. Welcome to a new session with a Migration Research Center. Today, we're going to try to unpack a little bit the employment-based visas. How many are they out there, and what do you need to know in order to apply for an employment-based visa or legalize your status through that process? We're going to have a short conversation with Frederik Stefani, the Migration Research Center CEO, and he's going to tell us what we need to know about the employment-based visa. Hi, Fred. Welcome to this new session. Tell us a little bit about Migration Research Center, and then my first question for you is, how many employment-based visas are out there?
Thank you, Vicky. Appreciate for this question and this opportunity to discuss about the employment-based visas. Is the most important part of immigration law. Migration Resource Center does practice employment-based immigration as well. In regards of employment-based, is that there are two parts. There are non-immigrant visas and immigrant visas. So on the non-immigrant visas, there are workers that can come in the US temporary to work, and they're sponsored by their employers, and they have different specialty skills in certain areas of workforce. The most common visas, it's H-1B, which is for high-tech industry, and you must have a specialty occupation and also a bachelor to qualify for that H-1B. In the past 3-4 years, H-1B has been very dominant in our media and talking about the H-1B visas. There are only 65,000 visas every year that the immigration provides, and the request is triple. Immigration has come up with H-1B to do some lottery in order to qualify certain individuals to apply for H-1B visa. It's a very lengthy process. I don't think we're going to talk much today about it, but another visa that is a non-immigrant visa is Visa O, which is O1 and O2. The Visa O is more for artists that come into the US to perform in their capacity and work for an employer, or they might have an agent who can sponsor them, and they can come to the US and work legally. Another non-immigrant visa, it's a R visa. It's a religious visa where certain group, certain religious group can bring employees to work in their vocational churches in the United States.
Do you have to? I have a follow-up question on these three types of visas. Do you have to be outside of the United States to apply for them, or you can be in the United States already, or you one or the other?
Yes, you can be inside or outside of the United States. If you are in the United States, you must maintain your legal status to change that the previous status to one of the categories that we just spoke about. But if you are outside of the United States, the employer in both occasions should initiate the process to bring the employee in the US or change status to that particular category.
I see. Okay, sounds interesting. I have another question about the second type of visas that you mentioned, the immigrant visas that are employment-based. Could you please tell what they mean and what's the difference between immigrant and non-immigrant?
Yes, the immigrant based of employment is when an employer wants to permanently bring an employee and work for that particular company. and that person will be able to get his or her permanent residency status, including his family if he has a family and children under the age of 21. There are certain categories of that permanent workers. One is the first preference, because the immigration pretty much has on the category. So the first one, which is called EB1, it is for extraordinary ability people, outstanding researchers, and people who are artists that they are in the top 10% in their field. They can apply for first preference, which is the extraordinary ability, and they don't need to have any labor certification or an employer to support them, because they have their own ability to apply for that particular category. And if is granted that petition, they can apply for permanent residency. On the second preference, on the EB2, there are the national interest waiver. That are certain categories that the US government also bring people that can work in different sectors that are very interested for the US government. And then you have the other preference, which is the EB3 preference. And this is a skilled workers. They have 2+ years experience in their particular field, and they are unique for that work they actually do, and employers can bring them. Could be a chef in the restaurant, could be someone in the high-tech industry, but they have to have a bachelor's or experience in that particular field. And the other category of that, it's the fourth preference, and this is religious also. A religious worker are considered also the fourth preference, where a church or mosque or any entity in a religion field can petition for that particular employee and make him a permanent resident in the United States. And the last preference is the fifth. It's EB5. It's more for the category of people who can invest in the US for more than $1 million, and they can self-petition themselves based on the investment they actually do in the United States.
I see. Wow, that's interesting. It's a lot of categories. It's a lot of to know, and it's a lot to take into consideration for what category you might qualify, for what category you might not qualify. Okay, I have a last kind of question. In this employment-based visa process, who has to do more work? Is the employer who has to say, yes, I want to bring you on board and prepare a lot of paperwork, or is the future employee who needs to do the work and prepare the necessary documents for the case and everything?
Good question. I should say there are three players here, three actors in this process. I will add also a legal counsel or lawyer, because the skills of the lawyer and then how he or she will advise the employee and employer plays a very big role here, and having a legal counsel have experience in this particular categories is very important. But also I should say the most important also is an employer who can initiate the process. Without employer, you won't be able to initiate the process. The employer has a big say in this process. And definitely the third is the employee who can show their skills and degrees that he has and experience that he has that match with requirements of the employers for that particular position, the job duties and anything else that we did. But I should say those three actors are really important to be successful on the very tedious process of labor certification.
I see. Interesting. Well, thank you very much for sharing some of the knowledge regarding employment-based visas. I did some research on myself, and I saw that it's a lot of information. It's a lot of categories. So it's interesting and fascinating. So I hope those who are watching this short video, and if they have more questions, they definitely can reach out to Migration Research Center, migrationusa.org is the website, and then you can find everything there. You can schedule appointments online, virtually, or even in person, respecting all the necessary requirements still in the pandemic. So all the information is online. Those who want to find out more have a way to do it. Thank you, Fred. And we're going to be back with another session, maybe about another category of visas or immigration, so people can learn and find out more.
Thank you, Vicky, for giving me this chance. Thank you.
Bye.